familiar with the location?
Just the one on me.
No.
We don't want any more lights.
That's it. Hey, by the way.
Greg, thanks.
No consent.
What's the grand opening? Yeah, I gotta work. What time are they doing?
I want to make sure Forrest and you show
I want to walk, literally walk down there?
Thank you, sir.
Why?
The Germantown Planning Commission meeting for the month of March. And if we could have the roll called, please.
Mr. Saunders?
Here.
Ms. Hicks? Here. Alderman Owens?
Here.
Chairman Harless?
Here.
Mayor Palazzolo?
Here.
And we have a quorum. We have agendas up on the podium here if anyone would like a copy of the agenda. There are no changes in the agenda tonight. First order of business is approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, hearing none, do we have a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Hicks? Yes. Mr. Saunders?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Chairman Harless?
Yes.
Mayor Palazzolo?
Yes.
And the minutes from the last February meeting are approved. We'll move right into the meat of the meeting, and I believe staff has a presentation. Mrs. Pounders, are you doing the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Very good.
The first item before you tonight is Campbell Clinic Expansion PD. This is a request for approval of amended outline plan and revised final plan. Before you is the zoning map that shows you the location of the site, which is located between just south of Wolf River Boulevard, east of South Germantown Road, and north of Browbrook Road. This application that is before you is for approval of an amended outline plan. The final site plan and development contract for the Campbell Clinic was actually reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen in 1992. The final plan and development contract for the surgery center addition on this site was reviewed and approved in 2004 by the Planning Commission and the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. The Planning Commission approved a rezoning of this property from O to O51 in 2013, and then approved an outline plan for the new medical building in 2014. The Planning Commission also approved a final plan for the new building, which was initially reviewed in 2014, but the applicant delayed the development process at that time, and they are just recently ready to move forward with this application. The Design Review Commission reviewed and approved a Phase 1 final plat for this site. If you see this area here, that is a phase line. Phase 1 is this area, which was approved for 50 parking spaces for the use by West Clinic, which is located to the east of this site. Those 50 spaces will be incorporated back into this Phase 2 plan here with the overall site plan as this application goes forward. What's before you tonight is an amended outline plan and the final revised final plan for a 4-story medical building with 736 parking spaces. As part of this approval, you will be looking at the previous approval of 3 exceptions that was approved with the outline plan. That includes a 62-foot tall 4-story building, the reduction of the parking spaces from 861 to 736, and the approval to allow a 23% permeable surface when the standard policy requires 35%. This plan actually has a pervious area of 26.77%. With those comments, we are recommending approval of this application. I will also show you the final plan that is before you. The change between this plan and the one that you reviewed in 2014 is that the office building here, the new building, has changed shape. It is now, the building footprint is a little bit different, but the square footage of the building remains 120,000 square feet. That did not change. At the east side of this building, in this area, is a new rehabilitation yard for the patients to utilize that will be coming to this complex. Also, some changes in the parking material in this area has also been added as part of this final plat. In the executive session, I passed out a document that the applicant submitted this afternoon that deals specifically with the parking and why the parking reduction was needed and granted for this project in 2014. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. The applicant is here to also answer any questions before you.
Commissioners, questions? Would the applicant like to make a presentation? If you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Mike Davis, with the Reeves Firm, 6800 Poplar Avenue, Memphis. We're proud to be here representing Campbell Clinic. Sheila kind of went over the details. We're adding 120,000 square feet, 4-story office building on a 15-acre site. And I don't know if you've seen the architectural elevations, but it's going to be a really nice facility, a really upgrade for that area. Be glad to answer any questions you have. Brad Shockley from Rendena, which is the site developer, is here, and he can answer any specifics about the building and the operation or anything else you have.
Commissioners, questions? I think most of our questions were answered in the earlier executive session, so we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this project? Seeing none, hearing none, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak against this project? Please come forward. Seeing none, hearing none. Commissioners, are there any final questions or discussions before we vote on this project? All right, could I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, on February the 21st, the Zoning and Annex Subcommittee met and are recommending that the application be considered by the Planning Commission subject to the subcommittee's discussion, staff comments, and the staff report and the plans and documents filed with the application. Therefore, request approval of the outline plan amendment, revised final plan for Campbell Clinic, expansion plan development, so that the board discussion, staff conditions, and comments in the staff report, documents and plans filed without amended outline plan and revised final plan application.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do we have a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Ms. Hicks?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Saunders?
Yes.
Chairman Harless?
Yes.
Mayor Palazzolo?
Yes.
And the project is approved by the Planning Commission. I think you still have the design review to go, but good luck. We're looking forward to the expansion. The next item on the agenda, we have a staff presentation.
Thank you, Chairman Harless. The next item on the agenda is Avenida Senior Living. The request is for a preliminary and final site plan for an independent living facility. The Planning Commission has seen other parts of this application previously. This site used to be zoned commercial, and previously when it was zoned commercial, it was the former Walmart site, which was demolished in 2004. At that point, the property was divided into 6 lots, and in 2013, Baptist Rehab then went on a portion of the lot over here, and this portion of Lot 2 remained vacant. In April of last year, the Planning Commission recommended approval to rezone this portion to retirement housing from commercial. And in November of 2017, the BMA approved that rezoning. So the zoning is now in place as retirement housing. In November of last year, the Board of Zoning Appeals reviewed a request specific to this site and project. They approved 3 variances. The first variance they approved was for building height of up to 51 feet or 4 stories. The second variance that they approved was for parking in the front setback and side setbacks, as you see here. And the third variance that was approved were for accessory buildings, specifically garages, to be located in the side yard setbacks here. These variances are specific to this project and are only for this project. As mentioned, this is going to be a senior living, independent living facility. It will consist of 162 rental apartment units. The building will be 4 stories back here, and this front portion here will be 3 stories. There are 4 garage buildings, associated surface parking, and there are 3 amenity areas. There's a courtyard here, a pool area, and then a terrace that looks out onto Neshoba Lake. Typically, there is supposed to be 35% open space for a facility like this. This facility is being reviewed under a congregate care section of our zoning ordinance, which requires 35% of open space. However, this particular site has a dedication and easement agreement with the city, which allows it to have 80% impervious surface. That was a swap that was done with the city, so that the city could then have the detention basin in Neshoba Lake here, and therefore the site then got an exception to their open space. This was the concept that was presented to the BZA at that time. When they asked for the variances, you can see here the site layout. They're proposing it that it be a gated community. As I mentioned, the 4 stories in the back, the 3 stories up in the front here. This is then the most recent rendition that you saw at your Planning Commission subcommittee meeting. Again, the layout is the same as before, just some of the materials are being proposed differently than the last version. As we discussed in Planning Commission subcommittee, the materials, the architecture, the landscaping, that will all be reviewed by the Design Review Commission, and at this point we're looking at the approval or consideration of the preliminary and final site plan. The applicant is here for questions. That concludes staff's performance.
Do we have questions of staff? Thank you. Would the applicant like to make a presentation?
Greg Markham with the Reeves Firm, 6800 Poplar Avenue, Suite 101, Memphis, Tennessee, 38138. Just thank you for allowing us to be in front of you tonight. As Sarah mentioned, we will be before the DRC starting Thursday night. I'm sure we'll be able to address any comments that they have about the building elevations or amount of materials at that time. So if you have any questions regarding the site or the layout of the site, I'm happy to address those tonight.
Commissioners, questions? Mr. Markham, I think you and your team have done a good job.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this project? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak against this project? Please come forward. Seeing none, hearing none. If we could have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, on February 21st, the Subdivision and Site Plan Review Committee met. We are recommending that the application be considered by the Planning Commission, subject to the subcommittee discussion, which included a recommendation of thorough review of the architectural landscaping by the DRC, which I understand will be done this month. Staff comments in the staff report and plans and documents filed with application. Therefore, we move to approve the preliminary and final site plan for the 162-unit senior independent living facility at Arvina Senior Living, located on part of Lot 2, Wolf River Center, Phase 1, First Edition, northeast corner of Wolf River Boulevard, Germantown Parkway, subject to the Commission's discussion, staff comments in the staff report, and the plans and documents filed with this application.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Ms. Hicks?
Yes.
Mr. Saunders?
Yes.
Alderman Owens?
Yes.
Chairman Harless?
Yes.
Mayor Palzola?
Yes.
And the project is approved by the Planning Commission. Congratulations. I might just add that in our executive meeting, we had a discussion about the traffic light scheduled to go in across from both of these projects. And Mr. Gwaltney assured us that he would have it in by the time that those projects opened. Wasn't that the? Exactly. But if, you know, in all seriousness, if there is any way that we can get that light in with everything going on at that intersection, it would certainly be a big help. So, and I know you'll do everything you can. I appreciate that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, do we have any commissioner reports? Any updates? Any new business? Any old business? If not, we stand adjourned. Thank you very much.